What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another car review. This is of course the 2018 Lincoln Navigator. Huge thanks to Lincoln for providing me with this very beautiful Navigator to review for you guys today. Also, huge thanks to the Automotive Video Association for arranging this car and 8 others for the first ever AVA Spring event. The event brought 6 of the best car reviewers in video and myself together to film several iconic cars and some of the top luxury SUVs. So about the all-new Navigator, well man, this is just so impressive. You know, it's one of the few vehicles that actually looks just as good as the concept version that came before it. I mean, even down to the wheels here, very concept car in their look. And it just looks so good, I think, from every single angle. I love these new headlights with the dual LED strips running down them. I love the big, bold grille you have up front there with a very large Lincoln emblem right in the middle of it. And just a really nice design. I think it's very distinctive and really stands out well without being too over the top or anything. I think it just looks so good. Coming down to the size of these huge Navigator badges that are about the size of my arm, just really looks good, nicely integrated in there. I also like the chrome here for the mirrors, and you also have the blacked out trim going down the sides, and also it kind of gives you the floating roof. Kind of looks similar to some other luxury SUVs as well, but looks really good. Out back there, I love the long LED strip for the taillights, which runs the full width of the vehicle. Looks really, really good again, and fits in with all the other Lincoln products, with a similar type of theme there. And yeah, I think these have been selling really, really well, and I don't think it's any surprise. Honestly, I think it looks so good compared to other luxury SUVs out there that are a little more stale, I think, in their look. This thing just looks so cool to me. But wait till we see the inside, that's even cooler. Right, for the interior of the Navigator. This is probably one of the most impressive interiors I've encountered in a while. It is so nice in here. It just blows me away. But anyway, first things first, sitting down in these super soft, comfortable seats. They're called perfect position 30-way seats, I think, with the adjustability. I think 30 different ways. So you can have like the seat bottom, you can have each leg come either higher or lower. You have 2 different parts of the seat back that can be positioned differently. The headrest, of course, which is pillowy soft and feels great. These are also massage seats. They also have very, very adjustable lumbar support. I mean, everything about these seats is amazing. They are so comfortable to me, and they also have pretty good bolstering too, I must add. With for a luxury SUV, it has a decent amount of thigh support, great amount of torso support as well, and overall just perfect seats. Next though is the steering wheel in the Navigator, which is also really nice. I gotta just add real quick, I love how everything is covered in this burgundy colored leather. It is so nice here. This is the Black Label version, which is why it's really even above and beyond a regular Navigator, and it is definitely worth it in my opinion. Anyway, this steering wheel is super nice. Has a great 9/3 grip, tiny little 10/2 notches. You have a little bit of wood here at the bottom. Just a few simple buttons. I really like these little metal rocker switches you have here for volume, and also for going through everything in the digital gauge cluster. You also have paddle shifters here on the back, which are plastic, but are going to be hardly used in a vehicle like this anyway, so not a big deal there. And so overall, great steering wheel. But going on to those gauges, they are so cool looking to me. It's full digital display, and I like how everything is very shadowed, so all you see is the stuff you absolutely need to see. You can see here you have your tachometer, speedometer, and then you have in the middle there a little information display that'll show you just your basics, audio, all that type of stuff that you can't really pull up the actual map there in the middle or anything like that, but just the basic stuff there, and I think it's really nicely done. You also have a heads-up display, which, as you can see, have all kinds of info on there. You can customize that as well, but I mean, you have the clock, temperature, speed, your lane keep assist, how much range you have for fuel, and just a ton of information there, and a really well done heads-up display as well. Another thing I have to add about this gauge cluster though is whenever you go through the different drive modes, it has the coolest animations hands down I've ever seen for drive modes in a digital gauge cluster. So you have Excite, you have Conserve, you have Normal with 4x4, you have Slippery, you have Deep Conditions, and then Snow Climb. And I love how they're all just very cool with their animations. Again, it doesn't really make much of a difference if they have nice animations or not, but it's just stuff like that really goes a long way in my mind to just make it a really cool experience. Also, by the gauge cluster, I have to add, I love this spotted pattern you have that goes across here, and you know, it looks like it has a wood background on it, but I like the little dots on it. It's just a really cool, you know, look that's new. It's not just like everything else where you have the same type of wood, you have the same type of aluminum or whatever, carbon fiber, whatever it might be. I really like this as like a new thing, and it looks really cool and spans the entire length of the dashboard here. But anyway, coming over to the middle of the dashboard here, you will see right up top here this large 10-inch touchscreen infotainment system. It's, you know, based on the Ford Sync 3 system. This is the Lincoln version, which looks a little nicer, more polished, with, you know, some nicer looking graphics, I think. You know, the fonts are all a little bit more polished, but there's still the same basic system, which is great because this system is awesome. Very responsive, very easy to navigate. You know, nice big touch zones to touch into the different menus. It has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is really great, and it's just a really well done head unit, very easy to use. And then you also come down and you'll see very interesting the way they did the gear shifter. So you just have these little rocker buttons here, and you press those to go, you know, park, drive, whatever, and nicely out of the way without being a huge knob or anything, and I really like that. And then coming down, you have your climate controls here, where the actual numbers will be reflected up here on the infotainment screen, but just really nice knurled aluminum. It might be plastic, but it feels very high quality still, and they all have nice resistance to them. Everything feels very nice in that area as well. And then you come to all the storage spaces you have in here, which is just amazing. This thing has, I think, more storage than anything else I've encountered. So first off, in the doors here, you have a double bottle holder with a large map pocket as well. And then you have another little pocket in the middle of the door here. Coming over to the center, right up top, I love this wood finish, by the way. It looks so rich and luxurious. And anyway, on the left here, you open this part up, you'll see 2 USB jacks, a power outlet, and a wireless charging pad, which is great, you know, for the newest iPhones, things like that. All work in there great, and a really nice amount of space there, and nice and close to the driver too. I really like that. And then you have behind this other cover 2 cup holders, and then also a little slot for your key. And then coming back here, you have, I really like how they did this double armrest for driver and passenger, and left the middle part open, so you have more beautiful wood. Anyway, you lift that up, and then you have a little removable tray here up top, and then you open that up, and then there's a massive amount of space down here. You can fit tons of stuff. You'll also find your CD drive in there and another power outlet, but just an enormous amount of space in there. It's just so much space, but that's not all. Even if that's all it had, it would be plenty. But no, you come down, and the entire lower portion here just is in another enormous storage cubby here, because this entire center portion floats essentially. So you have, I mean, I don't even know what you'd put in all this stuff, but I mean, there is just so many cubbies and stuff down there as well, that if you run out of storage space in this thing, you are a hoarder, I think, because it's just got tons and tons of space here. It's great. Backseat space of the Navigator. So this one is not the L. The Navigator L is even longer, but this one still has 3 rows here, even in the regular Navigator. So first off, that second row, lots and lots of room there. You know, I'm 5'9", me sitting behind myself with the seat all the way back. I would say that I still have about 5 inches to spare there, you know, for the second row passengers. And then if you want to slide that second row all the way forward, you still have about, you know, 2 inches or so to spare there. And then you also have your own climate control back there for the second row. They also have that little, you could also have a bench seat there in the second row if you'd like, but this one is configured to have the 2 buckets. So you get that nice control center console there, where you can see has another little screen in it to control the audio, and you can even change the sources and, you know, tune in the different radio stations and things like that. Really sweet setup there. You also have two cup holders in there. You have another little cubby that's massive there, and that center armrest, you can fit all kinds of stuff in there. Underneath of it, you'll see you know, even more storage once again. It's just amazing. Looking forward again, you'll see in addition to the climate controls, you'll see the heated seat controls, and then going down, you'll see 2 USB jacks, a power outlet, and then a standard house current plug as well down there. And then you can see there's an additional storage space. You open that up, and you'll find 2 more cup holders in addition to the 2 in the center there. And so just a ton of space. You also have bottle holders in the doors once again, and you know, their own air vents and everything everything else. And so a very luxurious second row. And then going back to the third row there, it's very easy to get into that third row. There's a little power button there to flip that second row forward. And then, you know, getting into that third row is very easy. Lots and lots of space back there as well. So with the second row slid all the way back, me being 5'9", I still have a little bit of wiggle room, you know, maybe an inch or a little less. So it's definitely a little bit on the tighter side, but I still have plenty of headroom thanks to the, you know, roof line being nice and, you know, straight back there, and it doesn't slope down or anything. So plenty of headroom still. But if you want to move that second row forward, you know, even where the second row where I have like 2 inches of legroom to spare, then for the third row, I would have about, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches of legroom to spare there. So, I mean, a plenty usable amount of space there in the third row. So it's a massive, massive amount of space there. And the third row even has their own USB jacks, their own cup holders, air vents, map lights, everything back there. So they are also very well set up back there. But that third row being so spacious does compromise trunk space a little bit. And that's where, if you are going to be using the 3 rows all the time and you still want a lot of trunk space, I would go for the L version for sure. Because in this one, you know, you still have enough space there to stand up, you know, a few suitcases, you know, with these, and, you know, fit small things like that, you know, nothing super large back there. But of course, if you did want to fold down that third row, then you have plenty of room. You can also fold down the second row if you'd like, and then you have tons of space that pass through all kinds of things. But if you're going to use all 3 rows and all the storage regularly, then I would definitely go for the L version, and that's what they have that for. But otherwise, I think for most people, this will be plenty of space. All right, so start up and go for a drive. So the Navigator has this very nice new Lincoln key, which is a little bit on the large and chunky side, but, you know, it does have a nice weight to it. A couple nice buttons there, and you know, overall looks really nice. I just wish it was a little bit smaller, honestly. But anyway, it's of course keyless entry and push button start. So you just leave the key in your pocket, hit the engine start button, and it starts right up. All right, so setting off in the 2018 Lincoln Navigator Black Label. Well, man, this thing is so nice to drive already. I mean, first thing you notice, I think, is just the size. You know, you're sitting up very high, of course, in a large luxury SUV like this. Very good view forward, although the dashboard does come up a little higher than I think some others do. But you have pretty thin A-pillars, so you know, you don't really have any worries there. You also have nice view out of the side here with nice low window sills, some nice large windows there. And view out of the back is also pretty good, although it's really far away. This is so long. But you know, it's pretty easy to see out of. Other things to notice as we're going over a couple of bumps here, it really seems to soak them up well, even though we're on these, you know, larger wheels. It still is a very nice soft ride here in normal mode. Other things to note is even in normal mode here, it has a really nice quick throttle response to it. Brakes also have you know, a little bit of travel, but really nice and responsive right at the top of the pedal as well. But we put it into the Excite Drive mode, and let's turn that onto the straight road here and see how it does. Here we go. Took a second to downshift, and then that front nose lifts up, and man, this thing hauls. Wow. All right, so it even held the gear there. A good little sound to it as well. So anyway, the Navigator here runs the 3.5-liter twin turbo V6. It does the same horsepower as the F-150 Raptor, 450 horsepower, 510 pound-feet of torque, which really makes this thing feel meaty. I mean, it moves down the road with some speed. This is really, I mean, especially considering how heavy these are. These weigh around 5,800 pounds. I think it's like 58, 55 to be exact. So, you know, it's definitely a good amount of weight to get up and moving, but it does it really, really well. So I'm pretty impressed. And this Excite Drive mode also really likes hanging on to these lower gears. By the way, speaking of gears, this has the new 10-speed automatic transmission that was co-developed with GM and Ford, and, you know, it's been used in some other stuff. For example, the new Mustang gets it, and I gotta say, it really this transmission is totally up for, you know, doing the higher RPMs whenever you're in this Excite mode. I don't even have to paddle shift because it's just doing its own thing. But just for kicks, we will try the paddle shifters here, see how it does. Okay, so it's trying to make it seem like it shifts faster than it does, because the gear indicator on the dashboard here changes the number, but then I feel the gear shift, and it's like a good 1 to 2 seconds later. All right, so for example, it says 5th. There is 5th. 4th. There is 4th. So it's kind of funny. And then I guess it just, whenever I put my foot down, it didn't hold the gear for me there. I was just like, all right, we're going to downshift. And so I think it has a little bit of a mind of its own. There doesn't seem to be any type of way to lock it into a manual mode. There isn't any manual on the gear selector here. It's just drive. So I think you just kind of paddle shift a little bit, and then it takes over whenever it feels like it wants to do its own thing again, which is fine. Again, we're talking about a luxury SUV, so it shouldn't really matter. Very few people ever use these paddle shifters. And like I said, this automatic is still plenty intelligent on its own to figure out what it needs to do, and does it really well. So overall, it's doing a pretty good job. Another try of the brakes here. They really feel nice and meaty too. You know, again, for a vehicle this large and heavy, you don't want weak brakes, and this feels nice and strong. But go around a couple of corners here, and you feel the way. There's a little bit of lean. We'll have to keep pushing it a little bit more to get a better feel for it. But so far, you know, it's such a smooth ride, because these roads are a little rough right now, and I don't feel any of the road imperfections. None of them. Like, it completely masks it all, so that, you know, obviously you'll feel the dips and things like that, but as far as actual road surface goes, I don't feel any of it. And, you know, you don't really hear much of anything either. There's a little bit of wind noise and stuff. You know, we're doing about 50 miles an hour here, but it's really nice and quiet and refined too. Steering weight as we're going around some corners here is also really nice, actually. You know, not too heavy, not too light. It's just about right, I'd say. You know, it's got a nice little bit of feedback and resistance to it, and it has a little bit of a weightiness to it. I don't know if it's terribly precise feeling, but it does feel good. I mean, I have no complaints here. Yeah, going around a couple more corners here. There's definitely some lean there. But it's really, it leans, but then it gets set in its own, you know, position there, and then it kind of holds its stance pretty well. I would say this is certainly less floaty than the Range Rover, that's for sure. There's a lot less floaty than some of the others out there, but it still is a large SUV, and you do feel the limits pretty early on, but again, it's a luxury SUV. So for what it is, I think it handles plenty well. Okay, this thing gets up and goes really well, and that 10-speed auto does a really good job keeping it in the meat of the power band, so that you know, you're never waiting for the right gear. It's always in the right gear, which is really nice. Another thing that's pretty impressive about the Navigator is its towing capacity. It can tow 8,400 pounds, which I think is pretty good for a luxury SUV that's as heavy and as large as this is. It does a really good job with that. A couple other things that, you know, since this is so luxurious, that I've noticed here is you have this Revel surround sound system with, I think, 20 speakers, might be more, but it's just really impressive, you know, especially when you have a wired-in source. Like, I had my CarPlay going and my iPod going, and it is really a powerful system that sounds great. Another thing is these cooled seats. Cooled seats in a lot of vehicles are hit or miss. Some of them don't even call them cooled, they're just ventilated, because it doesn't really cool you down a whole lot. It just kind of pumps air through them. This is an actual nice cold ventilated seat, which, like, it's just so rare to come across, and so I'm just really impressed by it. You know, both the seat bottom and the seat back get nice and cold pretty quickly, and so these seats, it just makes them even better. In addition to being heated and the massage function and all the adjustability, these are just awesome seats, and so definitely worth. They're an optional upcharge in most Navigators, and I would definitely go for them, because you sit in them every time you're driving the vehicle. It's something that I think is well worth paying the extra price for. Speaking of the price, one last thing I want to mention here is, you know, the pricing of the Navigator. Now, the Black Label ones, you know, are a little bit on the more expensive side. The Black Label starts at $95,000, but it basically comes fully loaded. And this one, as tested, is only $96,500, so an extra $1,500. So basically, everything you see here, you get with the Black Label. So there isn't anything else you need to add. And it's, I think, honestly, when you're competing with stuff like, you know, the Range Rovers and things like that, I personally prefer this. I think this is a little more luxurious even than some of those. I think it handles a little bit better. You have more room, and you know, I think it's just probably going to be a little more reliable as well. And you know, overall, I think it's just a really well-rounded vehicle. The last thing too, it also, I think, beats the Range Rover if you don't go for the diesel version. The Navigator with this EcoBoost motor does 16 in the city, 21 on the highway, for a combined average of 18, which, again, for such a large luxurious SUV like this is, I think that's pretty acceptable fuel economy. And so, I mean, real world we'll have to see, because these EcoBoost motors do like to really suck down fuel if you're not delicate with your throttle inputs. So, but at least as far as the rated numbers go, I think that's, again, pretty solid for a vehicle of this class. But overall, I'm really impressed with the Navigator here. You know, I think Lincoln really put their heart and soul into this one to really knock it out of the park, and I think they did. I mean, everything about this just blows away any other Lincoln that I've ever experienced. It's, you know, again, the top of its class luxury-wise, with the features that are offered at the price point that it's at. And again, the sales numbers speak for themselves. These things are selling like hotcakes, and you know, I have no doubts about, you know, why that is. It's very easy to see. It looks awesome. It's, you know, a fresh, futuristic, modern looking design on the outside. The interior just blows you away with its quality and just all the features and just the way that everything just catches your eye. Everything is, you know, eye-catching in this. Everything is wrapped in nice, soft, you know, materials that all have a cool texture to them. Everything just is so impressive, and I especially love the colors. You can get some really cool colors instead of the normal black, brown, gray, or something like that. This, you know, there's a dark blue available. You see this burgundy, all kinds of really cool color combinations, and I think it's just refreshing to have finally something that's totally new, totally different, that, you know, doesn't just try and fit in with all the rest of the competitors. This kind of even goes one step beyond those and thinks a little bit outside the box compared to some of those others that are very cookie cutter in a lot of ways. I think this isn't cookie cutter in any way whatsoever, and is really awesome. I'm really impressed with the Navigator. If I wanted a huge luxury SUV, I think this would probably be at the top of my list. Very nice vehicle. So anyway, huge thanks once again to Lincoln for providing me with this Navigator to review for you guys today. Let me know your thoughts about the Lincoln Navigator in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.